help people recognize, reframe, and reset.
Do you want to tell that story?
I'll let you tell that story.
Hence the On Your Mind podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome to On Your Mind podcast. My name is Dorsey Standish, and I'm so grateful that you're tuning in today to have this conversation with me around brain health and well-being. You might know me from my work at Mastermind Meditate, where I'm a CEO, or through some of my work in neuroscience. I'm a mechanical engineer by training and obsessed with all things mindfulness and wellness. And I created this podcast to bring the conversation off of the stage, off of the virtual seminars that I do, really to a broader audience. We get such good feedback on the work that we do. You know, at Mastermind, we really take a head, heart, body approach in our content. So everything that we share, we want to engage your mind with neuroscience facts. We want to touch your heart with storytelling, and we want to get you into your body by leading experiential practices. And I really wanted to bring that philosophy out of just our classes and to you all as a broader audience. I think that now more than ever, our world needs to have a conversation about the fact that health starts in the brain, hence the On Your Mind podcast. Now, I have to be honest, my wife actually came up with that name because, as you will soon learn, she is the mastermind behind a lot of the branding and the marketing that we do at the company. But we came up with this podcast idea together because we believe that when we show up with a priority on our mental health, our well-being, our brains, the insides, not just the outsides, it can impact the way that we work, the way that we build families, and the way that we live. And I can't wait to have this conversation with you all today. So if you're wondering how I got here, what inspired me to start this podcast, I can tell you that my journey with podcasts personally started back in 2012. I remember I was working at Texas Instruments and new hire, jumpstarting my career, work. And my friend Ross at the company said to me, "Have you heard of these things called podcasts?" Now, this is back in 2012. So this was a new idea to me. And he's told me about these personal finance podcasts. And from there, I discovered wellness podcasts like the 5 a.m. Miracle and this idea that you could start your day on purpose and with intention. And those podcasts became this seed that was planted in me. I don't know that I was fully ready to embrace wellness or embrace brain health as the foundation of my life until a little bit later on, after burnout experience brought me there. But in that experience of finding and devouring podcasts, I learned that knowledge was readily accessible to me and that I could take content from podcasts and test it out in my own life and figure out what worked. And since then, I've continued my journey with podcasts like On Air with Ella around women's health. And of course, Andrew Huberman's podcast made neuroscience so relatable for me as I was going through my master's degree in cognitive neuroscience at UT Dallas. Hearing him talk for hours and hours about intricate parts of the brain really helped me make sense of classes like functional neuroanatomy. And then even more recently, my wife and I have been really into Peter Attia's longevity work. And of course, his podcast does an amazing job of deep diving into some of those topics. But as I look at the podcast space, I have to be honest. So I am a neuroscientist, and my wife also jokes that my love language is efficiency. So for me, and for the type A clients that I work with, 2-3 hour long podcasts that go so deep into detail don't always resonate, especially if we're trying to fit it in between feeding the kids or doing a quick commute to work. So my intention with this podcast, On Your Mind, is to take the brain health topics that matter most to you. How can I have better sleep hygiene without a lot of effort? How can I eat better by just incorporating a few new foods? How can I sneak more movement into my day or learn how to downregulate my stress faster when my teenager won't listen to me? I want to take all of those topics that matter to your life and make them really accessible, tangible, digestible. We'll use that same head, heart, body framework that we do with Mastermind, right? So you'll hear me tell stories. I always say that my wife and my 2 boys are my best teachers because they keep me humble and they help me live brain health principles on a daily basis. So you hear lots of stories about work, about life. You'll get to hear, of course, some neuroscience, but hopefully in a way that resonates with you, using analogies like I'll give you an example. Your brain is like the autocomplete function on your iMessage. It's always trying to complete the sentence for you. It's always trying to figure out what's coming next, which is why you can get so anxious when there's uncertainty. Your brain's in overdrive, right? So rather than go into intricate neural circuitry with you, I'm giving you an analogy that hopefully you can relate to. And that's what I love to do, is take these abstract concepts that I learned in thermodynamics or in, the science of memory, and hopefully give them to you in a way that gives you almost a user's guide to your brain. So we take something that could be a seemingly black box of like, oh my gosh, this 3-pound organ that uses 25% of my energy. What is this thing doing? And give you little ways that you can start to take ownership of your brain health and your behavior on a daily basis through just small lifestyle shifts. That's the journey that I've been on for the past decade, and I can't wait to dive in deeper with you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube page at Dorsey Standish for all episodes of On Your Mind, and follow me on social media at Dorsey Standish. Now, you might be wondering, what's the format of these podcasts going to be like? Is it going to be you continuing to talk at me for the whole time? And I want to reassure you that while I do love to talk and share these things that have changed my life, I cannot pretend that I'm not standing on the shoulders of giants in the wellness space. I've been blessed to have so many amazing teachers, both that I know directly or that I'm learning from through podcasts and books. And it's my intention to have at least every other episode be a guest episode, a conversation with someone that has something to teach me, teach us. And the funny thing is, I really believe that that could be pretty much any human being. I believe that I can learn from anyone, that every single person is my superior in some way. But I would love your input if there's a guest you want to hear from. If I had to think about my dream guest, I'd have to say Dr. Amishi Jha, who I admire as a female neuroscientist who's really pioneered research into the study of attention. And what I love about her book is that she so honestly and beautifully talks about her own journey finding mindfulness after growing up with parents who meditated and never wanting anything to do with it. But then through her own struggle and stress, realizing, I need this stuff too. And loving it so much, she couldn't help but start to practice and then research it. So guests like that have stories and also science that can inspire us and help us grow, especially in the framework of what I like to think of as the pillars of brain health. There are lots of different frameworks out there, and they're so wonderful and valid. But for me personally in my life and how I've interpreted the research, I like to think about the 6 foundations of brain health as being number 1, stress management. How are we moderating our stress response and building resilience on a daily basis? Number 2 is sleep. I always tell people meditation is great, but if you're sleeping 4 hours a night, please just get some more sleep before you do anything else. Sleep is so underrated, but it's a topic I'm really, really into. Also, personally, my wife can tell you that I love to sleep. My son actually makes fun of me for going to bed at 9:30 every night, but that's another podcast episode. So sleep is huge, and we'll dive into that in more detail with both the neuroscience and then the practical aspects of how to make it work for your life. And then number 3, I would say, is movement. I read recently that 30 minutes of walking a day can fix almost any problem. And it's true, just moving our bodies for even that 20 to 30 minutes a day can make a huge difference. Of course, there are amazing techniques and the FIT principle, which we can dive into, but the main message there is that circulation and movement are so healthy for our brain and for continuing to develop new neurons. The 4th pillar of brain health is nutrition, how we nourish our bodies with food, with drink. And I have to admit, this is one of the later things I've learned on my journey. And it wasn't until I was postpartum and got to meet my wonderful mastermind colleague, Jennifer Ventrelli, who's the author of the Official Mind Diet, right as I was trying to breastfeed. I was hungry all the time. I could not get enough nutrition. And her framework for eating for brain health has been scientifically validated for the past 20 years to help stave off dementia and cognitive decline. So I might have to have her on as a guest. But there are actually things we can do, from eating leafy greens to berries to consuming alcohol and butter in moderation, that have been shown to improve our chances of having a healthy brain that functions well for the long term. And then finally, we have social connection and also mental fitness. So these can be more overlooked. Social connection We are so wired as human beings to connect with each other. And we might think, oh, I'm looking at my phone. I have 1,000 friends on Facebook. Those are my social connections. But having those close relationships where we can have those quality conversations, feel supported, like we're not alone, huge part of well-being. And we'll dive into that. And then mental fitness. Are we challenging ourselves? Are we learning new things on a daily basis? Are we strengthening our cognition? Are we getting out of our comfort zones and still having a growth mindset? Even as we get older, it can be so easy to fall more into our routines. We know that neuroplasticity is strengthened when we continue to do new and exciting experiences. So my hope is that at least one of these 6 topics has piqued your interest. I know I'm still learning and growing in all of these areas, and I can't wait to go into each one in more detail. And then, of course, bring on some guests that are going to have exciting new perspectives on these topics for us. I want to know what's on your mind. If you have any questions for me or my guests, or you have a guest you'd like me to interview, you can DM me directly on Instagram at Dorsey Standish, or send me an email at hello@dorseystandish.com. Speaking of that 6th pillar of brain health, mental fitness, I have to admit this podcasting, hosting my own show is a new experience for me. And I have this love-hate relationship with challenges. It's so funny. I talk a lot in my work that when something feels really hard, it's usually something that I get to lean into and grow from. And that's what I want to leave you with today. I know that this is just the beginning of our journey with the On Your Mind podcast, but every week, I want to leave you with one little thing that you can do for your brain health. When we think about carving new neural pathways and taking advantage of the brain's ability to change, one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, or wishful thinking that people have is that creating new positive habits is easy. And the truth is that carving new neural pathways can be really hard work. It's almost like if you've ever been to the beach and started to dig a trench in the sand. And at first, the trench is really shallow. It's hard to get the water to flow through it. But pretty soon, if you keep digging that trench deeper and deeper, the ocean water starts to flow through it effortlessly. That's like our neural pathways. The more we strengthen certain pathways again and again, the more easily the energy flows through them. So I'm inviting you today to do something that feels hard, but that you know internally that you're meant to do. It could be pausing right now and taking a minute to just breathe. It could be thinking about, wow, what if I put my brain health first today? What would that look like? It could be sharing this episode with a friend and having an accountability buddy on this journey. It could be reaching out to me and saying, hey, this is what I was inspired by. This is what I want to hear from you. Whatever it is, don't forget that, there are a ton of experts out there that are going to tell you, you need to do this, you need to live like this, but only you know in your heart what's best for you, in your body by having these experiences. So take what you're learning today, take what you're inspired by, test it out for yourself, and then find your path forward one moment at a time, making continual choices that will strengthen your brain. I can't wait to see you next time. Thank you so much for your presence at On Your Mind.
If you'd like to learn more about how to book Dorsey Standish for a speaking engagement or company training, you can learn more at dorseystandish.com.